Okay, I'm hopefully going to join this with another video, and this won't seem so disjointed. But what I'm working on is debugging the user sign-up flow. And one thing that I discovered is that the Chromium wasn't working. So what I'm trying to do here is if this area is failing right here, and if I go ahead and try to run this, and I do it in headed mode, which will open up a Chromium browser, it wasn't opening up the last time I executed this near. There's a new secret variable. So last time that I executed this, it wasn't opening up because there was some issue with like the way the Mac OS system was working, or VS Code, that sort of thing. What can sometimes happen is if VS Code is opened with particular environment variables enabled, or if somehow like the process hierarchy of VS Code gets corrupted, it passes that corruption or that environment glitch down to the actual Chromium instance, and it can cause it to fail to start. So the easiest thing to do is like restart VS Code. If that doesn't work, restart your computer. I think what was happening is I was playing around with a couple of screen share tools, and it kind of glitched the whole system. I ended up having trouble with some other tool later, and restarting it worked. So that could have been what's going on. What happened here is I pulled in some changes from another project, and there's a new key that's required. So I'm just going to add support for that real quick. I'm just going to fake it and add it to the shared area here, and just say fake. And it should be. And I have to reload the environment, and now I should be able to run. Now, hopefully this opens up Chromium. If it doesn't, then we'll have to do this in another terminal window. Okay, looks like something happened there. Good. Okay, so the headed option is working properly, which is good. The one thing I do want to note in the README about the Playwright tests, because this was new. I actually hadn't run into this issue before. Like Chromium does not open with headed. Try restarting your computer, your VS Code. Terminal, if all else fails, computer. Sometimes it seems like things can get corrupted in the process hierarchy and cause it to fail. We'll go with that. Okay, just want to note that. So this is working now, but we're failing on this protocol error, and this is because I was working on another project. So if I get Localius up and running again, this should work. And now I'm trying to remember where we landed here. Yep. Okay, so we got pause enabled. So what pause is going to allow us to do is look at the page structure, but it's not going to allow us to play with it. Okay, so we're back up and running now, which is great. It actually seemed to log us in, which is interesting. Okay, so we should target that particular test that's failing. Okay, so here we are. So I cheated a little bit because I have another project that uses a similar flow, and I know what the issue is here. The issue is these used to be actually separate inputs, but now they are one long input that has like little boxes drawn around them, which is actually pretty nifty. And so that we need to change the way we're sort of inputting the data into this field. The thing you can do is if you go over here and press record, you can click and then 424242 and see what happens. So you can see that it didn't try to select different boxes. It just selected that one verification box, which is interesting. So that's the main problem here. That's what went wrong. I fixed this in the other project, so I am going to cheat and just pull that over because it's already done. So hang on a second. Actually, I'll just hop over there. And where is it? Clerk. There we go. Okay. And let's throw this over here. This is... I gotta pull in a couple. Okay, cool. Now, one thing I want to notice is this press sequentially is kind of nifty. You can set a delay in between each input, which is helpful. And this kind of types the letters instead of just setting the whole value of the field at one time. So this can be helpful in cases where like there's a lot of React or JavaScript that you're interacting with. So if I go over here and I should be able to pass in the page. Yeah, log in and verify. So I just need the email. Now we have that email generator now. So let's use that. Clerk test email. This is like a very particular way they want the test emails structured. So we'll say test email. Remove that. I normally use cursor. It's interesting how much worse the VS Code completions are. Still not bad, but and this is just glitching out on me. Okay, so then we can remove all of this and I still haven't figured out why I need to like Control C multiple times to get this thing to play well, but when I want to quit out of it, when I have a breakpoint set. So if you just hit Control C a bunch of times, it'll work. Moment of truth. Huh. Sign up button continued. Oh, this is slightly different. This is, okay, this is just the sign up flow, which makes sense. This is login failing, so we just need this bit. Let's try it again. Okay, this is failing, I think, for a different reason. Let's see. I still want to improve the reporting here. The Pytest default reporting and logging is like out of control. It's very noisy. So where exactly is it failing? Okay, so it's missing it here. Hello by internal Python. Okay, so the easiest way that we can debug this stuff is to a Python debugging session. Now, what this is just an alias that I have that enables me to forget all these crazy little things you need to do. So this opens up an interactive Python debugger, and this allows the standard in to be piped right into the your TTY, so you can actually interact with the debugging session. And so this should fail right on here, and we should be able to see like what's going on. So type it in, success. Okay, and this time it worked. Okay, so the snapshots are different, which is expected because what happens here is this assert snapshot will actually take an image of a page and persist it to a particular directory, which is configured over here. Let's see, it's called like visual. Yep. So it's configured to use this path right here. And that makes sure that if something visually changes, that you intended it to change. So the way to actually handle that is if I commit. So it's got all these Darwin versions because it's different for each platform. So the way to fix that, oop, wrong thing there. The way to fix that is to actually push to CI and then just pull the stuff directly from CI, which I'll show you how to do. And because of the brackets, it's really not going to like this. It's going to bother me. Okay, we'll leave it as is. All right, so let's push this up. User creation test. Is there like a user sign-in test? Let's try that. To my memory, there was 2 of these that were failing, and now I can't remember. Fair enough. This is a lot more verbose than it used to be. Let's see. From internal Python. Okay, so let's use that debugging trick again and throw a headed on there. Be able to actually see what's going on. To debug this, let's actually just like open up the database. Easy way to do that is there's database open. And we can switch to a test and see if there's anything. Yeah, so this is all empty, so it should be like, I think it's like a truncation issue. Let's try it one more time to be sure. Yeah, I wonder why it does seem to be failing here sometimes. That's interesting. Duplicate key already exists. The constraint clerk ID. So it's actually failing. It would have failed if I didn't refresh the page, I bet. Failed to load data. What could be happening here? All right. Now at this point, the server might be already down. So the way you can debug this sort of thing is if you put a breakpoint right here, that lets you take control. So let's try that. And in the meantime, we'll just get this other thing running on CI. Okay. Okay, so it failed right behind that, before that. Let's see, find or create by. What's odd about this? So let's quit out. There really shouldn't be any users in the test database. So this does seem like a bug, actually. Because what should happen here is this should run. And this also runs on load. So let's just inspect what's happening here, because this seems a little odd. It should breakpoint right there. Yeah, here we go. So now we can open up database. Okay, so it does truncate it, which is good. And one note on integration tests, they actually use a truncation method for cleaning the database instead of transactions, because you can't have a transaction that spans across multiple Python processes. So, and the server runs in a separate process, and the Chromium runs in a separate process. So you have 3 separate processes running under the sort of test engine. And in the future, we're going to have multiple databases for distributed tests, so these things run faster. And so we need to sort of allow it to be cleaned independently without kind of relying on a session, unfortunately. Okay, failed to load data. And unique constraint. So this is being hit twice. Find or create. The only thing I can think of is this should really run like an upsert operation. In the case where like there's 2 API calls that are made like very close to each other, but that seems like, oh, that is kind of what's happening. It's kind of interesting. Or well, these are just getting the JavaScript. So what is... So I'm curious, what is actually serving this? Because I don't see any other routes. It's just hitting this dependency. But it's unclear what route this is hitting. Huh, okay, let's check that. That might be a problem for another day. Okay, fair enough. It's got some complaints. Let's fix those up. So it's got some lifting plates because of rough. So let's, yeah, and it would complain against around the signal stuff. So the signal stuff is something I'm experimenting with. So let me pull that from this project too, because I've updated the way it's done to be a little less aggressive. And we'll see if that makes us all a little happier. But this is something I want to continue playing with. Okay. All right. Let's see what we got. Clerk. That's all the like lingering unused imports, and then we're gonna commit the clerk helpers that we just created, and we'll repush while we continue to debug this guy. Yeah, that's so fascinating. You know, a way that we could easily test if my hypothesis is right about the upserting, which would be kind of crazy if that was the case, but we could do like a time sleep right here. Just if we give it a second, 'cause it's probably, we're talking like very short amount of time that this issue would occur in. I mean, really like milliseconds, microseconds. So there's no chance I'm right about this, but Yeah, still happening. Yeah, because this will find it, save it, and it'll only really fail if one already exists, which could only happen between these two blocks of code. Let's see if there's anything else in the logs. Okay, so there's just one creating user record. And for kicks, back to caveman debugging. We'll do that. While that's running, let's check on our other guy. Okay. So the cool thing about this setup is I just need to commit my shared change and off we go. That'll fix that problem. Okay. So let's look at the logs here. We got detecting. So it is detecting the same one. They're like, they are within microseconds of each other. That's wild. How is that happening? Huh. It could be because on load it runs two. We can actually check this. If we, let's see, here we go. And I always like to put the domain in here because there's a bunch of other junk that's loaded up. And let's see. Now, this is all JavaScript stuff. Home, really what we're looking for is the Ajax side. Yeah, but this isn't right either. Huh. Now it's just not executing properly, so let's do this. Now this is exactly why many people hate these tests. But the interesting thing here is like, this is exactly why I love them. Because this is a race condition that would have been very hard to detect and know about outside of, you know, a test like this. But it is frustrating. It's annoying. Okay, login as dev user. So I'm going to go to the home URL, which is, now I can't remember it. I'll look it up. API test. Go, and what is my find all right. Oh, okay, it's just a simple one. Right. Because I have these defined over here. And it's just clerk development 1, 2, 3. Okay. Okay. Now we're going to check the network and see what's going on. So, so it fires off. So it grabs this V1 internal V1 thing, and then also fires off at this admin users, which hit the same path. So it does make sense. This happens basically exactly the same time on load. So the thing we need to do is within this user creation test, or within the user dependency, we need to use an upsert right here. So that'll create it right away. Find or upsert. But that's a project for another day. So we're just going to take a look at what we have going on here. It's taking its sweet time, which is probably a good thing. So we'll take a pause and come back. Okay, let's check back in and see what's up. All right. Oh, okay, fixed it. So we solved the problem. Now the deploy is still failing, but that's a separate issue. So it is a sort of timing issue locally based on that upsert command. Hopefully this helps sort of like understand how to debug these issues and, understand how to write Playwright tests.